that you usually don't use for very large investments. Or for small investments, especially like a personal investment, you can sometimes think of a payback period. A payback period is sometimes a good metric for calculating profitability. Like I told you, usually for big plants, you will not do that. You'll either do NPV or DCF ROR. But actually, before I go to the payback period, I just want to make sure everybody understands the difference between NPV and DCF ROR, how to calculate that. What's all that noise? What was in your bag that had to be looked at? All right, so, see, I lost my line of thinking. So yeah, NPV. What is NPV? NPV is simply you take all the cash flows to the end of the project, and it is typically at the end of the project. So we'll just do it at the end of the project. You move all the cash flows to the end of the project, and you figure out what's the value. That's NPV, net present worth. Okay. And to do that, of course, you need a discount rate, right? You need to know the rate at which you're going to basically move money. And typically that rate is 10%. So NPV requires a rate, and you use that to be 10%, and you calculate NPV. DCF ROR is sort of the opposite of that. To figure that out, what you do is the DCF ROR is the rate at which NPV becomes 0. Very good. So the calculation for DCF ROR would usually be a little bit more involved because it's going to be a nonlinear equation. But as we discussed, if you're doing it in Excel, of course, it's very simple. You just change the interest rate till it becomes 0, right? You can also set up a solver in Excel. If you're using MATLAB or any solver, it's very, very straightforward. It's not difficult. And of course, in the exam, you will not be allowed to use Excel or a solver. So you just need to know how to solve that equation. And as I told you, the simplest way would be calculate the NPV at 10%, which you will be asked to calculate anyway. If it's positive, you choose another rate. That will be higher than 10% or lower than 10%? Higher. You try 15%, see what it is. You kind of put them on a graph. If you think that you have enough data for interpolation, just interpolate and get a number. If it's not, take another. So let's say 15% also is positive. Then what do? Try a little bit higher. And very quickly I think you'll be able to figure out what it is. You don't have to calculate to the second place of decimal. As long as you give me a reasonable value, you'll be okay. All right? So can I move on to calculating payback period?
Quick question.
Yeah. Yes.
So graphing is not allowed on exams or quizzes, so we will be interpolating from...
Yes, you will not be allowed to use a graphical calculator or a root finding program to figure it out. Okay? And the reason again is very simple, because then there's very little left to do then. Right? Once you know the equation and you have an answer right away. Right? You want you to think a little bit, do something, right? So yes, therefore you will have to kind of play. You have to do something.
I don't have a regular calculator.
Sorry?
I don't have a regular calculator. I don't have those in use.
You can use any calculator you have, just only use the regular functions.
Okay, fair enough.
If you are caught cheating and using anything else, then trust me, just by looking at your stuff, I will know if you used a graphical interpolation or not. But no, if you know that I already told you in the beginning, the penalties of cheating are extremely harsh. You get an automatic fail in the course, plus you're so close to graduation, it's not worth risking it. So just don't. So yeah, just please follow the rules. And the rules are you can use any calculator, just do not use the functions and do not use the graphing. Yeah. Okay. All right. Good. What's time? 35. Okay, all right, I'll explain to you what the payback period is. So the idea of payback period is that remember, if you remember the problem we were doing last time, year one was -10 for land, or just, yeah, right, -10 for land, and then minus, I think, 60 and minus, what was it, minus 50, 30 for FCIL and 20 for working capital.
FCIL is 80.
80. So it was split into 60 and 20?
50-30.
50-30. Okay, so that's so 50 and 50, right? Because 30 and 20, okay? And then we started making money. I don't remember what the money was. Can somebody tell me?
100.
Sorry?
100.
No, that was the revenue. The cash flow for the cash flow 1, cash flow 2.
Oh, cash flow 1 was 25.8.
Okay, so 25.8, 25.8, 25.8, 25.8, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, the last one? 21, 21, 21, 21, and then 21 plus land and working capital, right? That was 10 plus 20, 30. Right? So these are our cash flows. Now the idea of payback period is, at what point in time did you break even? As the word suggests, payback. At what point did your investments basically pay back? So in payback, you never look at land. You don't look at land because land is always there, right? You can, at any point in time, you can sell it off. You also do not look at the working capital, okay? So you do not look at working capital, so you make this to be 30, and you make this to be 0. Okay, because same as working capital, because you can stop the plant at any point in time, and the working capital is still there, right? It might take just a little bit of time to come back, but in principle, you should get it back. So now you figure out at what point in time this cash flows basically add up to 0. Okay? So the easiest thing is to move all the cash flow to point times 0. So this of course is 0. When you move 50 to this point in time, what do you get? Minus 50 divided by 1.1. What is that? Minus 40?
45.45.
Okay, then minus 30 divided by 1.21. Or 1.1 squared.
Negative 24.7.
24.7. Okay, then 25.8 divided by 1.1 cube. Okay, 25.8 divided by 1.1 to the power 4. Sorry?
17.6.
7.6? Okay, 17.6 divided by 1.1. Or this, huh? Yeah. So this is the year cash flows. And this is discounted cash flow.
Is cash flow given?
2 times 0. No, you calculated it. We did this problem last time. We calculated all these numbers. Okay, so what's the next one?
16.02.
16.02. Next one. You can just divide this by 1.1.
14.56.
Sorry?
14.56.
Okay, another one. Same, divided by 1.1.
13.24.
Okay, now you have to switch to 21. So 21 divided by 1.1 to the power 6. Sorry? 11.5. 8.5, okay. Okay, so let's just see, you might already be at the payback period. So you can keep doing this. Now you can calculate the cumulative, so cumulative discounted cash flow, which means you just add them up. So you get 0, minus 45.4, minus 70.1, right? No, sorry, yeah, 70.1. And then now this will become minus 50.7, right? Minus 32.9, right? Minus 16.88, right? Minus 2.24, and then you can see the plus standard rate. So 11 point roughly over, right? Does that make sense? All I'm doing is just adding these numbers. So you can see the payback period obviously is somewhere in between here. Right? Does it make sense? Because all you're doing is, so the first thing is to understand the payback period is you remove land and you remove working capital. You remove land because you always have land. You can sell it off at any point in time, you can get that money. Similarly, working capital is really always there, so you don't consider that. The rest of it, you write the cash flows, you discount them all to times 0, you add them all up, you get cumulative, and wherever that number becomes 0, that's your payback period. Basically, that means you made up your money. So now if, yeah.
So if you took away land and working capital from the beginning, would you also not have that plus 30 at the end?
Yes. But you know, if, yeah, hopefully you'll have payback period somewhere before that. So you can see I don't even have to go to the end
Yeah.
because the fact that I knew NPV was positive at 10% means that the payback period will be less than 10 years, right? All right, so you can see it's between, so this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So some of the payback period between somewhere between 6 years, right? Now, there are different ways of saying, I think it's fun if you just say it's between these 2 years. The book says do a linear interpolation to see exactly when it crosses 0. But the linear interpolation doesn't make sense because an interest rate is inherently nonlinear. So I think it's just fine to say it's between these 2 years, and that should be that period. Okay? Make sense? All right. Any questions? So, in a quiz or an exam, I can ask you to calculate either NPV or DCF/ROR or payback period, or all 3 of them. Okay? And if I give you multiple projects, then you may have to calculate these for all 3 projects. Let's say I give you 3 different projects. You might have to calculate these for all 3. And we'll discuss this more specifically in the next class. All right, good. See you guys Tuesday.